Welcome back to All Ears with Active Ideas. Kingsley, who have we got on the podcast today?
So we're interviewing Jordan. We met at the Arc of Attrition and he has a really exciting story that we're going to dive into.
He actually started at 120 kilos and now has recently won a 120-mile race. And he's got a fiance after proposing at the end of the race.
Arc of Attrition finish line.
Yeah, you'll have to listen to the podcast to find out where he kept the ring and what it was stored next to. We won't spoil that surprise just yet. But yeah, he's got a new fiance, he's got a little girl, and he has a full-time job, but has somehow managed to make this absolutely massive transformation. We definitely covered some taboo topics, a little bit of Facebook myth busting. Should you be on the Facebook group chat ahead of the race?
Raw dogging race events.
Raw dogging race events, as he so eloquently put it. So I think we just jump straight in.
Let's let it rip. Hi, welcome to the All Ears podcast by Active Ideas. And I'm Kingsley, as you know, and
I'm Abby. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Shall I introduce myself?
Please.
Yeah. So my name's Jordan Withers and my Instagram is @runjwith. And thanks for having me on the podcast. I've been super excited. I've been messaging Kingsley about when it's going live and these sorts of things and been hounding him over the past few weeks after meeting you at the Arc. So it's great to chat to you.
So did you guys actually meet at Arc of Attrition?
we did, and Jay looked so fresh as well. What checkpoint was it?
So I think because obviously if we go back to the start, I joined the Arc of Attrition Facebook group, which is a beautiful place to be until about maybe a month before when there's a panic on around the kit. Everyone's just posting like, is this kit okay? It's like constant. And all it takes for one person to go, I don't think that's going to be okay, and then panic ensues because for whatever reason. So I remember on YouTube and I saw one of your videos particularly. So I think I just reached out to you on Facebook and you sort of responded. I just thought, I'll go with someone as a source of truth and just risk it. Yeah. You were my source of truth. So everything went smoothly, thankfully. So obviously I knew who you were because I'd seen your videos and I'd obviously reached out to you with a couple of voice notes and bits and bobs. And I saw you at the first proper checkpoint. Is it Porth-Leven? Was that the first proper checkpoint just before it went dark? Just on that riverside. Yeah. I saw you leave there and you left before me. I think I grunted hello and you grunted back a little bit. And then on your video of the Arc of Attrition, you see me leaving Penzance just as you're going in.
Yeah, it's Penzance the one.
And you can tell I know who you are. I'm not sure if you knew who I was. You're like, yeah, all right, mate. That was just like how it happened. Then we kind of stayed in touch. And yeah, it's been sort of a crazy way of meeting. I suppose that's a great thing around ultras, right? And running, everyone seems to most generally people, at our level are just all about the vibes.
You speak of vibes, and I think that's one thing I loved about meeting you, like in person, when I actually realised who you were and like looking around all of the other war victims, it was great to see someone else smiling and like, you look like you're having a great time. Yeah. Like, oh, hi Kingsley. Yeah. And then you could tell that I was probably one of the war victims. And you're like, I'm the guy from Facebook, and then it all like kind of clicked for me. I was like, yes, it all fell into place. Yeah. Yeah, you're Jordan on Facebook, then on Instagram you're Jay, so it took me a while to like connect the dots there and go, these two people the same people.
Arc of Attrition for me was my first ever point-to-point ultra, so pretty terrifying as one to pick. And I think I went into it a little bit naive, which I think is a bit of a superpower at times, because once you're already in it, you kind of can't go, I mean, you regret it, but you can't really do anything about it. Obviously, of course, you're DNF. So
I do have one question for the listeners as well. If someone's come into this not understanding what the race is, obviously it's the Cornish Coastal Path.
Yep.
It's a 100-mile race, but there's also a 50-mile.
25-mile now.
But then the buckles, because obviously what are the cut-offs for the buckle? In your post it says that you're a golden buckle man. You are or aren't?
I didn't make it. I'm so jealous of that golden buckle up there, man.
And then yourself, obviously, Jordan, you reference a black level. Yeah. So what's the magic, guys? What should people be, if they're setting their sights, what colour's their buckle, I think is what we sort of need to cover here.
So black is on sub 24, isn't it? I think black is sub 24. Gold is sub 20. Is it 30?
Yeah, sub 30 hours is the gold.
The thing is, I think gold looks better than black.
Yeah, me too.
But anyway,
it does look cool.
By the way,
it does look cool.
I always thought, could I get away with putting that on actual belt and just wander around the streets of it?
Yeah. like cowboy style is going at the moment. Country music's on the up. Like, just
going on a night out with a massive big golden buckle, like I'm a cowboy or something.
The most brutally honest person I know is my sister when it comes to fashion, and I did try it out just to show my sister, and she was like, "Get away from me and take that thing off."
What was your experience of the kit check? Because obviously I was King's crew the first time round he did this, and I'm laughing because you're saying he didn't like recognise or acknowledge you. I was his crew and he ran past me so many times. I was like, everyone just turned into head torches, and like, luckily he had quite elaborate colours on, but I couldn't. It was trying to crew him was a nightmare because he just kept running past me. Yeah. But no, so with the kit, obviously I was there when Kings did his initial check-in, and this was before it was bought out by, is it UTMB?
Yeah.
And it was like the original Arc, and I remember them having like the stencil templates on the table, and you just had to put something into each box. Like, was it the same experience this time? Were they strict on things? Did you sneak through without what contribution did you take?
Like, I don't know what your experience was, Kingsley, but I arrived quite late. It already got dark, and I think most of the sort of fanfare had already finished, and it was basically I just had to show my torch batteries, waterproof pants, my waterproof jacket. That was it. Maybe even less than that, actually.
Mine was very similar. I think I had a whole bag full of spares ready to be rejected, like you said, driven all that way, and I've got to make time to go to the closest Cotswold. But yeah, I think I showed them my head torch, didn't even kind of get my spare batteries out, a few waterproofs, and all of that kind of stuff, and they were happy. I think they'd seen the queue, and I was like at the front of the queue, and they were kind of getting set up, and it was all a bit chaotic for that first half an hour.
Yeah.
And I think they just wanted to get the ball rolling, which is quite nice. But yeah, they kind of brought in the cold weather kit, which I think is the difference next year, is that's now mandatory. And the difference is that 24 hours before the race, they're now going to say, if the weather's looking good, you don't have to bring it. But any other situation, you have to pack, the extra third layer, the extra thermal. I don't know what else they wanted. The swimming armbands. You have to pack it all next year.
I think for me, and obviously that was my first ultra, and I'm a massive stickler for rules. So when you say what contraband and stuff, I'm a massive stickler. So for example, I bought some poles for it. I've never used poles. The thing was like, you either take them or you don't. You can't. And when I was actually running, I've seen people have them for a bit and then never saw them again. So obviously people weren't sticking to the rules. But after doing it now, when it comes to the kit, I think they need to take a bit more of a practical approach. Obviously you have to have all the stuff, but I don't know if I could have fit that extra kit in my bag if I actually had to. Because that third layer is like, I think I got a Nike Trail gilet. It's pretty, like, it packs down, but not that much. And I think the problem is the stuff that really packs down is so expensive. You start getting into points where you're pricing people out then, because the kit that you require that is light and packable, something like OMM, for example, the kit, it's expensive, and for good reason. It's good quality stuff, but you start to worry that then it becomes more about kit versus, like, with cycling, it kind of does come down to your bike. Of course, all the training and stuff like that, but very much if you have the best bike, it's very helpful to your race. So I don't know if you agree with this, Kings. I think it was an amazing event. I absolutely loved it. But there was a couple of things like that for me I would improve. One in particular was the waves. Now I was in wave 2, and I'm a massive believer that wave, if you're in wave 2 and if you look at the stats, I think there's only one person who went sub 24 hours in that wave 2. Now, granted, a lot of the people in wave 1 will have a UTMB score, but ultimately, if you're going second, the path has been churned up and you have less daylight. It's just a lot harder, I think, in the second wave, and you have to get past people who are slower in the first wave.
They didn't have waves on the year you did it.
They didn't have, and it had that magical feeling to it. Like, I was so looking forward to, after watching so many vlogs and people had done it. I was so excited to see like the flare guns at the beginning and just crowds of people sprinting down that street. And it did feel a little bit dead, having done it the year before, having that split wave, starting at different times. There were no flares anywhere. It just felt a bit kind of like,
it's the magic.
Yeah, the magic had kind of gone.
On a marathon though, because I saw on your Instagram, did you do Rome Marathon? There's a picture of you going past the Colosseum.
Yeah, done Rome, yeah.
And what year did you do Rome? Because I did it this year, and that start, I've done Athens, I've done Barcelona, but Rome Marathon was carnage.
Yeah.
People fighting, like opening porta toilet doors and knocking people out because they were trying to pass along the road, and they like funnel everyone in. You can't enter your pens like along the side, so you get that bottleneck. We were behind a balloon that said 6.5 hours. One balloon said 3 hours. They've got balloons instead of flags for a start, which was chaos. And then you walk all the way around the Colosseum, and like the crowds have dispersed. You miss the countdown. You're nowhere near the elites. So it was like people were running a good mile, and Rob and I just walking because we've done enough races to know that like you don't need to. But it really costs you your race, because we then spent the whole first mile. We did a 9.5 minute mile, but we were going for a 3:50 marathon time. So like you're already so far off track. But then I did Brighton half marathon a few weeks before, and my mum had signed me up at the back, and I was like, no, I want a PB time. So I ended up in the hour 25s. And I was stood there and I was like, I shouldn't be here. But I PB'd massively because you just get swept up and you've got space to move. So I think like you guys have hit the nail on the head. If you're after a time, definitely lie. I know you said you're a conformist, but
the issue with UTMB at the minute though with that is you have to have the index, and it gets back to the socio-economical issues there. So not only are people in wave one, probably they've got all of that expensive kit, or in terms of averages here, probably have more expensive kit. They've probably got more funds to go to other races to build up that UTMB index. Yeah, you get these people that are, as you said earlier, might have been priced out, gets you into wave two, and then you're running through the turned mud, which that kind of summed up the UTMB for me this year, Arc of Attrition. But I absolutely loved it. It was a massive playground, but I know that was definitely race ending for a few people.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously I'm not using it as an excuse to whether I was or wasn't happy with my time. It's just when you get to some of those really muddy bits, they just have been churned up, and you know what it's like running through churned up mud. It's pretty tough. And I think the only other gripe I had with it, and I sort of mentioned this on my feedback form on Arc of Attrition, was as 100 milers, when we were coming towards the end of the race, never mind when you finish, I was hitting the 25Kers and the 50Kers, and it was absolute carnage. And what is the etiquette with that?
Did you see Tom Evans?
Yeah.
Because I was starstruck. I was like, it's Tom Evans flying past me, and he has such an authoritarian voice, like, excuse me everyone, and he's so polite and kind, but I was just like, wow, like that's a runner.
I've met him a few times, and look, it was at a Maverick Jurassic Coast. He was like the guest of honor and set the race off. I somehow managed to finish third in a 12K race there, which meant that the whole area where the village was completely empty, other than Tom Evans and me and other two finishers. So I ended up being able to chat him for a while, and he was like really down to earth and really cool, giving me loads of tips. And I was like, someone record this so they can see I'm speaking to Tom Evans. But when you're running and you've done, let's say 90 miles, what is the etiquette? You've got people who are coming past you who are going faster, so realistically you should let them over. But every time you stop, it's harder for us to get going again. And I also don't want to ruin anyone's race by keeping them behind me. So that was the other point.
You have to shout out the volunteers, to be fair.
Amazing.
I was really lucky that, when I got to that junction where the 50 milers and the 25 milers and us all met at that one single kind of point, I had a volunteer say, look, you've been running for absolutely hours now, and they don't quite realise that. So just keep on going at your pace. They can go round you. It's absolutely fine. Keep going. And just having someone remind me of that was so useful. So
it's your right of way. Like everyone runs their own race, and we get it in triathlons all the time. Like I was starting out with pool swims, or like the thought of getting in a lake with everyone at the same time. And I think you really do have to stay in your own.
And just own the lane.
You've just got to own it.
We're too British. I'm too British. I'm like, oh, sorry.
I know this.
How many? Yeah.
I was so
sure
bad
about you. Like, follow the rules.
Yeah, there was like three of us
exactly.
in a train running, and we'd all let people go past. I mean, by that point, my target of what I wanted out of the race had already gone, so I was kind of a bit less sort of in that race mode.
We're both like, so what was this time that you wanted then?
So, I suppose we can talk about how I got into ultra running and why what I expected of that race. I thought I would go sub 24. I wanted a black band. I ended up with 28 something, so quite a bit away. But I learned so much on that race that would save me. I can think of at least 2 to 3 hours of savings because of mistakes I made because I'd never done a point to point before. So my previous experience of ultras is doing 2 Endure 24s, one in Reading, one in Leeds. The first one I did, we can get to. Second one I did, I managed to win. But the Arc of Attrition, you don't have that safety net of what Endure 24 is, which is a looped ultra where you come back to the start every 5 miles. So you can change, you don't have to carry as much kit. You don't have to be as self-sufficient. The weather's better because it's in summer. And a couple of mistakes I made, for example, were not having shoes that I could change into that were a bit bigger than the ones I already had on. So I had to keep the same pair of trainers on the whole time, which isn't great when it's wet. Everyone's getting trench foot and that sort of thing. I genuinely didn't feel well on the morning of the race. You watch my UTMB sort of each checkpoint. Basically, the first part of the day, I'm just losing positions. And then when it gets towards night, I have sort of a quiet word with myself and pick up the pace a little bit. And obviously I proposed to my now fiance, and that was on my mind all night. So I'd been hiding this ring. I'd been having palpitations, night sweats the night before. So I had my ring in my chest pocket of my Storm Gel jacket next to my Imodiums, of course, the most important place. So there was a lot going into that race that was sort of diverting my attentions away, spending too long in checkpoints, getting flavour fatigue. Not that it ruined my race, but I ended up running with someone which really enhanced my race once I realised my time had gone. But maybe I could have gone quicker, but you'd never know these things. And there was a few other bits and bobs that I go. Again, when I come to an aid station, the Archangels, if they're still called that, were amazing. I was, again, being dead British. No, don't worry, I'll do it. I'm like 90 miles into a race and they're offering to do something for me. And I could just say, thank you, that's brilliant. Instead, I'm like, no, you sit down.
I have to ask you a question, just because I'm trying to get Abby into ultra running, like properly get her into it. And we've done a few kind of like looped kind of courses, and Arc of Attrition seems to be the one where I might be able to have some pull there. So what advice do you have for Abby and listeners to take on a race like that and transitioning maybe from being pretty comfortable now with 50k, but looking to not suffer in the Arc of Attrition, like actually have a good time like we both did?
Yeah. Well, obviously I'm not a coach, but just from experience, obviously a training is a massive one, like making sure, like if we take training out of it, which you would ordinarily train, one thing that really helps me in those races is I obviously have a goal, and we'll talk about Endure 24 in a moment. But when I went into Arc of Attrition, my first goal is always to win a race. Obviously, I'm not going to win Arc of Attrition. But then after that, I have different goals, starting with getting to the start line. That's my first goal. Tick. Brilliant. As long as I get to that start line today, I'm happy. And I have those sort of goals that build up to it. So, when you're doing marathons, if you're aiming for a 4-hour marathon, a 4 hour and 1 second is a terrible run, but a 3:59:59 is the best run you've ever done. So there's no in between, is there? So I think having a list of sort of goals that you would be happy with, I think is helpful. Personally, I think a 50k versus 100 mile, your legs just get to a point where they're just tired after a 50k. I don't personally think they get much more tired. It's a weird thing to explain to people, but they just are tired. And it's just about being like, it's kind of accepting that discomfort. But the biggest thing that would really draw me to it, and what drew me to it, Arc of Attrition, is just the adventure. Like, I can speak to Kingsley without looking in his eyes too romantically. We both know what it's like. So it's hard to explain what it's like doing a race like that. So when I talk about like the bit between St. Ives, Land's End and St. Ives, there's an unspoken sort of thing to go, that was rough as anything, but you can't explain it to people just how bad that section of the actual run is. If I was someone who's looking into getting ultras, I'd be doing something like Endure 24, because the reason why I think it's a good one to do is because you're always coming back to the start. You always have that safety net, and you always are able to, worst comes to worst, you can go to bed for 2 hours, come back out and keep running. And you can just see what it feels like to get to 100k. There's no like DNFing, so to speak. You just have 24 hours.
No, I cannot do loop. I've said this to Kingsley so many times. Backyard Ultra, like one of the most renowned ones, is at Nethershall Heath, and it's on our doorstep. And every year you're there, and every year I go for a run down to see him, and I run back. I'm like, I am not interested. I massively agree with that like adventure aspect. I did 110k in Finland across 2 days the year before. Fantastic. I love that adventure, that point to point, or a big loop. I can't do an out and back. I can't think of anything worse. And my other half did, it was 24 hours. How far can you go? 5-mile loop. And he came back to the van where I was with the dog. He could sleep. We had all the equipment. His dad came down. We had friends come down at different stages. I did a lap with him. Can't think of anything worse.
I love these sorts of challenges because, you know, going back to how I started in ultra running. So back in 2021, in fact, I've got a picture here.
Lockdown or just after?
Just after lockdown. I turned 30 and I looked like that. Can't remember what weight I was about then. Now, I think I was around 120 kilos-ish, close to 20 stone at one point anyway. Lost loads of weight, lost 30 kg, ended up in Men's Health. So you can see me with my other top off with the after photo somewhere if you're that interested. And that I finished it in March 2023. And then I go, so I've got this new body. What can I do from a so I physically feel okay.
Yeah.
I'd only ever really run 5Ks before.
We're just looking at your Instagram now.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that picture. So I thought you did coaching and I thought that was like an advertisement of like training, but I didn't realise it was you. So that's
No. If you actually type in Men's Health and then my name, Jordan Withers, you'll see like the article that, and that was one of my goals, like, can I get in Men's Health? Like, that'd be cool. I've done sort of 5Ks a couple every so often, but never done anything above like a 10K. I might have even done a half marathon or maybe one or two. And then I just thought, let's just see it, like how mentally strong I am. So a week later after that, the photo shoot, I signed up to Endure 24 with the aim of doing 100 miles. Got a running coach the week later and said, look, I'm going to run 100 miles. He's like, so how much training have you done? I was like, none. And he's like, okay. But somehow down in Reading, I managed to run 100 miles, which was like the biggest like achievement of my life. There's a video of me crossing the line somewhere and I've just got my head in my hands because I just couldn't believe what I'd done. And that was sort of the kick off onto my running journey, and then went back to Endure 24 Leeds. As you can see just up there is my trophy for coming first. I did 120 miles, which I couldn't run 5K 4 years ago, and somehow I managed to win a race. It's obscene to me that, you know, there's people from Texas came, people from Scotland, real ultra runners that, you know,
you're a real ultra runner.
Well, maybe you can call me that now, but at the time I felt like a massive fraud there. I remember like ringing my running coach being like, there's a guy from Texas here, he's got a full tracksuit on, he looks the part. I don't know why that means you'll be a good runner, but you know what I mean? You're like, you really start to doubt yourself and whether you should be there. A lot of people, you know, I've spoke to non-runners and they say, I don't know how you could run 100 miles, but you don't until you do. And then your baseline changes. And before you know it, you're doing what?
Until you do.
You don't until you do.
Exactly.
I think that's my favourite one from this week. Sarah's last week was she needed pins in her hand because it was broken. She was like, she's really Scottish. She's like, I don't have time for pins. Running the NC 500.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely, you don't until you do. I think is really quite profound.
And that's the reason why I liked Endure for what it is, because you can really just it takes a lot of those variables out for you just to see how far you can run and see what you can achieve. For example, Ross Noble was a comedian that used to be on Mock the Week, and he was just eating Greggs on the way around because that was his nutrition of choice, which I think is a brilliant idea.
It's interesting though, the nutrition side of things and that real life. It's like, what's the guy that's doing World's Hardest Geezer?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Russell.
He exactly that same thing. It's like some bloke. It's like on race day, someone will run past you in jean shorts and a pair of like their first ever trainers and beat you, and you're like, what? And it is that real world kind of like just some guy munching on a Greggs sausage roll.
It reminds me of UTMB. I think it was Jim Walmsley become famous for the pickle and the pickle jar, because everyone's like smashing in these Morton gels and, you know, all this expensive hydration, and he just whips out a pickle jar. He's just like chowing down pickles.
Obviously with the Arc of Attrition, it's the first time I've actually think about, oh, can I drink this because I need to make sure I've got enough to get to the next aid station. I never realised the beauty of quote unquote full fat Coke in an ultra. What a creation. I even filled up 2 bottles with it halfway round. It's like the most insane thing ever. It was
We
amazing.
literally, with the like party mixer cans, King's like, I've got the goods. Like he'll text me and it'll hit balls and full fat Coke genuinely has changed I was the same. We did the Yorkshire Three Peaks the other week, and it was actually when we got back, we'd just finished, but it was really hot and I felt naff, and I was like, I know exactly what I needed when I got to the pub, and it was a pint, but after a full fat Coke, because I was like, I just need that.
Brings you back to life.
I don't know what it's not good for you. It does something in your stomach that just like neutralizes everything, like an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
But you do feel better for it, and we swear by it. We say like little ginger cubes.
Yep.
Yours is cheese and jerky. I don't know what's going on there, and full fat Coke and pinballs.
What was your nutrition like, Kingsley? How did you find the Arc Of Attrition this year, and what was your eating like?
It's always so chaotic, so I'm not sure I can remember with 2020 clarity, but yeah, it was pumping in cheese, beef jerky. I did have the pinballs on me, and I used the X Miles. I'm an X Miles ambassador now, so I honestly bought just a little bit of everything to reduce the palate fatigue, basically. So I tried out the active route, which I really enjoyed. I also had Buzz Energy, which is like local to us, a place called Suffolk. They scoop up the honey here, and
is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I love it. It's so tasty.
They mix it with it's raw honey, and they mix it with electrolytes, so that's quite tasty. And I was using the aid stations quite a bit to, like you say, try and not spend too much time there, but I would just pump in fresh orange slices, watermelon, and then cheese and chutney is a sandwich I will usually stay clear from, because it's such a smelly sandwich to whip out in society. But in UTMB, I'm like, I was just chowing down on cheese and chutney sandwiches. They seem to hit the spot for me. And I've just been trying to, a lot of people underfuel for ultra marathons, but I honestly feel like I'm on the other end of the spectrum and definitely overfuel. And I've had issues of just literally clogging up the pipes and just pumping too much. Pumping too much food. You talked about wedding rings and Imodium. But pumping too much food in and too much processed food. If you take a pee with the cheese and the beef jerky, I'm trying to migrate a little bit to fruits and real food, rather than just pumping in sugar after sugar.
As you see, I'm really good with gels. So in Jaw, I had a Squares bar every lap, gel every lap, and some electrolyte gummies.
Those electrolyte gummies are unreal. I got them at the run show. I can't remember what the brand's called. It's in the car. I've got them with me for today.
Okay.
We're going out for a run later, but I absolutely swear by them. They've been a game changer. That Voom bar as well.
Voom, I actually use loads of Voom for the Arc Of Attrition.
Obsessed with Voom.
You had Voom yet?
You know what? I need, because I'm not at it. I'm really rubbish with actual real foods on races.
With the Voom, it's like it's in between a gel and food. It's like in that weird grey area.
Cube. I had horses growing up, and it is literally like 5 sugar cubes attached to each other, and you just like nibble off a little bit. Unbelievable stuff. Genuinely, I've never had such success because I can't use gels. I've never used a gel.
Right. It's funny because really annoyingly, it was on the Arc Of Attrition. I thought I was doing really well, and this guy just came flying past me, and he just had a chicken wrap in his hand as he was running. And I was like,
chicken wrap on the bench.
I was chatting to him for maybe 5 minutes when I clearly couldn't keep up with him, and he's just eating this chicken wrap going absolutely ridiculously quick uphill. I was like, what is going on here? And I'm there with my little gel. Like,
you limit yourself with the gels and stuff because you only can get certain nutrition through them, and you're missing other parts of the groups. And like, as a woman, I'm really into like hormone balancing and things, and a bigger understanding recently is how salt deficient like the athletic industry is, versus there's such a misconception in the media about like obesity and people having too much salt that we're so health conscious that we avoid salt because it's bad. But actually, like when you're high stress, like cortisol, so ahead of your race, you've got the fear of your engaged, or not the fear, but like carrying the ring and the pressure. I did hear you reference fiance, so obviously she said yes, but you've got the pressure ahead of it, and you can actually end up cramping on the day through cortisol breaking down and like your adrenal systems. And the salts and magnesium deficiency. So Rob my other half had a job interview pre us doing the Yorkshire Three Peaks, and he was cramping within like 10 miles. And I was like, it's the stress that you've been under all week and not topping up your salts because of this misconception that we need less salt.
That reminds me of the Tea and Trails podcast, and Eddie always talking about the balance of like training stress and lifestyle stress. Like it's so easy just to palm off your life and think it's not going to affect your 10K zone 2, but it definitely
I feel like I'm
does.
going to beat you in the running day because you've been so stressed about getting the computer to work. I'll be like, your life stress is too high. See you later.
Yeah, it's funny because like I cramped a couple of times in the Arc Of Attrition. I was taking electrolyte tabs, the high 5 ones, you pop in your bottle. And I remember being in a particular part some way before Land's End, and it was just like, there you go, yeah, I've just got a cup of coffee. But I remember running on this bit where I'd just been running on my own for so long, and there was a bit off camber, it was muddy, and I just felt my foot slip. I felt my skin separate on the bottom of my foot. And then as I fell, I couldn't get back up because I was cramping, and I was cursing some words I never would say. But I also think a lot of that comes down to not training hills enough. I just think my calves just, I'm still building that aerobic base. Like I said, I've only been running 2 to 3 years, so my aerobic base is still building. So
I did notice a mud mark in one of your Instagram videos.
It just goes
down the side
all the way.
resembles,
It's that.
Yeah.
I didn't change my leggings or my boxers or my shoes the whole race. Disgusting.
Yeah, I did see the mud. And I know where that is from when I crewed Kings, because I remember being sat, there's like a Lidl along that road, and I'd got you those cookies.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd been sat like getting ready to have a snooze in the car. So like I knew where it was, and I was like, oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's not great.
What was your shoe choice, Kingsley? I'm always really intrigued to consider the shoe choices and how many times you changed.
So I started off in the Trailfly by Innovate, and they were the 270 V2s, so the spine race shoes that Jack Scott wore. They have absolutely no cushioning, and I've owned that pair of shoes for about 2 years. So talk about being eco-friendly. I've got my fair share of miles out of them, but really feeling, Abby's testing out the Trailfly Zeros at the minute, which is like the next model up from that shoe. But I started to feel on the road sections, like those rocks and the pavement coming through. So then I switched out to, they've brought out like a new pair of Trailflies, and it's just called the Trailfly. So Innovate's starting to get a bit confusing now with all their shoes and models, but I used their new Trailfly, whatever shoe that is, has a bit more of a drop, I think. So it's like 4mm drop, bit more cushioning, and found that just extra couple of millimeters made all of the difference in the world. I felt great. So yeah, just 2 pairs of shoes. I switched over, had no crew, that bag drop, and that was pretty much it. I bought those shoes as well, like 3 days before the race. I was proper, they were like chuck in the bag. If the wheels come off, fuck it, I've got nothing to lose. I'll put them on. But
did you take the S1?
I took the Mountain to Coast R1s I had with me, and they just have no grip on. So they're a shoe that are so comfortable, and I wish I could have worn them, but they don't have the grip. And even in the Trailflies, that first section, Ryan Lewis or whatever his name is that you were talking about, I can understand the lugs, because I had absolutely no traction whatsoever in that first section. And although lugs would have been great for that second half, I did have a little bit more control in the Trailflies.
Yeah, because I decided in my infinite wisdom to go for the Terex Ultra Speed, which is known for being a 2mm race trail shoe that they basically use in the American trails. I got Zagama Light trail tread put on the bottom of them, retrofitted to them by someone in Kendal. So I got 4mm lugs on them. But of course, they are a very lightweight, very narrow shoe. And they've got a carbon plate too, with the view to switch to the G300s, Innovate's G300s, the older style ones.
What I'm wearing now, the new Maxes.
Okay, so are they the new brother of the G300s then?
Yeah, it's the new, the next version.
Yeah, but of course I couldn't change up because my feet had swollen, so I just had to do the whole racing.
Carbon custom plated.
Yeah.
No wonder you were so quick, mate. It leads me on to my next question, because this is a selfish one. It's gonna bore Abby and maybe the listeners, but I just have to know, like, how do you take it? Because I started off in ultra really like back of the pack, just surviving and trying to get the race done, and I'm getting a bit closer now to mid pack, but just a little bit behind you in those aid stations. Attrition. So how did you transition from being like mid-pack runner to now having these quite massive goals, really, to walk into Arc of Attrition thinking I'm going to get a sub
24 hours.
24 hour?
Well,
like, how do you, I know you didn't achieve it, but
no.
like you said, it's all those small little lessons that you've learned. It was the first time that you did it, that are going to make a massive difference, and you are going to get this. I believe that you're going to smash this goal. So what is that transition in terms of training and prep, both physically and mentally, to just get to that next level?
I think there's a couple of things. So firstly is the level of training I do. Although I've now got a really young baby, she was 3 months old when I won Endure.
Wow.
I train in 5 times a week. Has been a massive game changer. Not necessarily doing a major sessions, but just a lot of sort of aerobic sessions to build that base. Adding the bike has been amazing. Just doing bike sessions, low impact, really good. I sit on my Zwift in my garage, living my best life.
Gotta get a Zwift.
Yeah, you need to get
I'll
one.
do this. It's the dinosaurs. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Like, how many times can you go cycle around a volcano with a Diplodocus?
Exactly.
Like, it's cool.
Exactly.
It's really cool.
Also, a couple of things that I think have really helped, and it's going to really help me going forward, is just doing more hills. Like, it just improves your efficiency in running. Like, I've quite an inefficient running style, in my opinion, and I think the hills.
I've seen you reference this so many times in your videos as well about the waddle. I saw that, and it was like,
just so uncool. Like, when I see myself run, like, obviously I have to edit my own videos, and it's sometimes why I don't record videos, because I just think I look so ridiculous, like, because I've got an anterior tilt, so I'm sort of shaped like that, where I've got it's just, anyway, by the by.
It makes me laugh. It did make me laugh. It was where you'd edited the music over it, and you'd said, even with so I put this music over it to improve it. It hasn't. It's like, you look great.
Yeah. And strength training is going to be a massive one for me. I have done 0 strength training up until this point, really, on my legs. And it's just the difference. It really is just the difference. Like, it's the more and more people, you look at more and more studies, strength work is just like the, be all and end all of it. It feels like, from what I'm looking at, and that's going to be a massive thing. But it's just moving with a bit more purpose and trying to be a bit more purposeful. So, like, that winning that Endure was a blessing and a curse. It pumped up my ego to think I was actually a really special ultra runner, and got very badly humbled in the Arc of Attrition. But what it gave me confidence was that I set a race strategy, did it to the best of my ability, it paid off, and I wasn't the quickest person on the day. I wasn't the best runner on the day. I doubt a lot of those things. I've not been running the longest, I've not run the most hills, but at 100 miles, that's when pretty much everyone else stopped, and I continued. And I think the difference is that I just believe that I could just do it. I just had a single track goal of doing it. And I think every time I stopped to either take a gel or whatever, I'll be like, no, I need to keep moving. So I'll take the gel, and I'm better at least walking than stopping taking it. So I try and be really purposeful and keep that in my mind. And I also think that I've never run an ultra yet with music. So I do everything, quote unquote, raw dogged, I think they call it in the trade. Is that what they call it?
Quote, I do everything raw dogged.
Not quite everything.
We'll scrap the last one. The last one was too inspirational.
Yeah. Let's lower the tone.
Said like a true northerner. I do everything raw dogged.
Yeah. Is that what it's called, isn't it? Where you go on flights and you just sit there. Yeah.
Raw dogged it.
Okay, just making sure. So the reason why I like it, that is because how often do you just get just to be completely nothing in your mind? Like, how often do you really get that? When you're in your job, whether you're answering emails or whatever it may be, or your phone's going, or someone's speaking to you need to go somewhere. When it's after about 4, 5, 6, 7 hours being an Arc of Attrition, your mind is just completely blank, and all you have is a sole focus of just moving forward. And that to me is so special. I love that. I absolutely love that peace and quiet.
Sarah really touched on that last week as well. She said, so she was autism and ADHD and talking about like representing women in the sport. And she's doing this, obviously, NC 500. And she said it's exactly the same thing. It's like her safe place, her escapism, silence the mind. Like, I think so many people got into running in lockdown. It was a coping mechanism. We always say we've got big demons, we're running away from them. It's the time you go out. And I think I'm massive on the no music thing, like half marathon, 10K, 5K. 5k, plug me in, like, let's go.
Pump it up.
If I'm strength training, like heavy metal, like in the ears, like let's lift massive. But as soon as you're in the trails, it's that adventure, and you miss the magic of those conversations, those greetings, those well wishes, those sounds, sight, smells. Like, it's such a sensory thing, I think, trail running. And I the thing I love the most, I resonate with so much of what you're saying, because it's like you go out on the trail and the magic is in the moment. Like there's not a need for anything else. You are just out on an adventure. And I think once you go past a marathon, no one asks you really what time you got.
No one cares.
Like, even though you won the Endure race, it's not, well, what time did you get?
No one cares.
It's just you won it because it's that distance. I did 120 miles and I won it. It doesn't matter what time you did it in. And I love that because it takes all those pressures away. And like you say, it's anyone's race on race day. Like, you've got fan favourites, but an underdog can completely come and turn it completely upside down. You can wake up and you can feel ill. You can sleep badly. You can eat something that doesn't agree with you. I rolled my ankle on the Yorkshire Three Peaks last weekend, thought my race was over in the first 10k, and then PB'd it because I did what you said and had that continuous mentality. Whereas previously I'd stopped to take on fuel, and I was like, well, if we just keep moving, we PB'd the course by 45 minutes in the end, because we just kept moving.
Because of course there is a time where you do need to stop and just take stock. If you need to change your shoes, you do need to take care of yourself as well. But going back to that point around being on the trails and just being without your headphones, as I mentioned before, I ended up running with someone called Julian, an amazing guy, and we spoke most of the way. And at naughtily, I sort of sat behind him, which is a little bit naughty.
Your windbreaker.
Yeah, but what an got to speak to him and learn about him. What an amazing guy, and I'm sure I'll speak to him for a long time. Same with you, Kingsley. When we come out that aid station, I've had my headphones on, just in my own little world. We're not going to speak, and we're just going to pass each other, and maybe we'd not be speaking now. Who knows? I don't know. So
you feel the same about the spine race as well.
Yeah, I've just met people.
I can't believe you got a ticket.
Trenches.
I'm sorry, but this is not on. I wanted a ticket. I don't know.
Did you actually try and get in?
Of course I did. It's like getting an Oasis ticket. It's probably worse.
It really is.
Probably worse.
You two were sick. Sick.
How do you get one? Tell me the secret.
So you get your brother's iPad. You get your mum's phone, you load up your phone, you open up your laptop, and you're like, I am going to load this absolute bloody slow page, and just clicking refresh on all of them. I think if you really want one and you refresh the spine page at exactly 12 o'clock when the tickets go live, you will get a ticket.
This is Montaigne, isn't it? Isn't it doing a Montaigne race and then you get a pre-sale, or is there anything like that? I don't know.
I could qualify.
They do nothing. Okay. So, a lot of people are calling that out, to be honest, because, I was lucky enough to get a ticket. But there were lots of people, who didn't, and were calling out that there should be some kind of ticket system like the Western states, where every year that you don't get in, your odds multiply and you get more of a chance.
Yeah.
Hopefully they, in the future move to that, because it does seem like the spine race was a race that I'm sure maybe 10 years ago, when it first started, it was probably quite hard to get people to sign up to their race, and now people are fighting for places. But
how are you feeling about it? I need to know, because I know you've got the UTS coming up, and that is my favourite video you did. I mean, I've watched most of them, but I loved that UTS blog. I think it really shows what the UTS is about, and it nearly forced me to sign up. But I got a different offer to do the Keswick Mountain Festival 50k, which felt a little less daunting.
His sales technique's not quite there yet.
Yeah, she's working on that.
Yeah.
Teaching me the sales.
His sales is not quite there, because he's always trying to sell me things. I got a link for spine, I got a link for the Arc, I get a link for this. He's like, should we? And I'm like, no.
Well, it looks like the spine, I think, to me, looks like the ultimate adventure. I've seen the Dragons back, but the problem is a lot of these races are getting really expensive again. The price of these things now, and I understand that you've got to keep everyone safe, so there's a lot of logistics that go into it. I would have loved to have done the spine, because you just listen to podcasts, you watch videos, and you just think this is absolutely epic. So how are you feeling about it?
I'll touch on a few things that you remind me of there. So first of all, you mentioned safety, and going into the spine, the more I got into it, because it's obviously 268 miles, the more it freaked me out, because I went in having not recce'd any of the course, completely naively walked into the race thinking I'm just going to wing it. But I saw, so there's a few places where there's GPS dropouts, and basically a couple of runners had got lost, and I saw how quickly that team, the response team or the mountain rescue, ran up that mountain to go find the runner who were absolutely fine. It was just a GPS signal issue. But seeing that like reassured me with so much confidence that I am having my dot watched by the communications team, and the second they're unsure, they've got my health and safety at the forefront. So that was really cool to see in action. Yeah, in terms of, you said about the adventure, I would say the summer spine race doesn't sell out. There is always opportunity to get a place there. And I think you're going to have a better experience and an awesome time at the summer spine race. And I can't wait to go back and do that again, because that's the race I have done. And I had the most amazing time, shed a lot of tears meeting the most wonderful people who went above and beyond in terms of caring. And there's a guy called Tom who does their media, who just lent me a pair of Nike Zagamas, brand new out of the packet, and just said, "Kingsley, I believe in you." Because I had the same issue as you. I couldn't get my feet in any of my shoes. I rocked up size 9 UK and everything, not knowing, naively that my feet would swell. And he gave me his Nikes and said, "Keep them, they're yours. I'll see you at the finish line." And little things like that just kind of absolutely broke me. I met a woman called Lisa Wright who basically adopted me, and I call her my spine mum. And she talked to me, about all of because she is someone who actually takes the time to recce, and she lives in, I think, near Yorkshire, and just had all of the information. And it was amazing to bond with her. And I think I offered the positivity and that drive that you said to keep on going that are my strengths. And she offered the intel, and we just kind of really gelled together. So I 100% recommend signing up to the summer spine race. With the winter and how I feel about it, I'm not like a most confident runner in the dark. So I've got to build up those skills. Even being a male, males get scared too. So building up the, I watched Chamber of Secrets 2, Harry Potter, and freaked myself out. So I need to build up that confidence running at night, and kind of working on how I deal with wind and snow on the mountain tops. The
bit you're missing out here is Kingsley likes suffering. So I'll text him and I'll be like, "Oh, should we go for this?" And he says, "I hope it rains. I hope there's lightning. I hope that it's gale force wind." Like this Penny Fan one, he's like, "That sounds sick. I hope the weather's awful." And I'm like, what is wrong with every time we do anything? He's like, he'll just message and he'll be like, "I want to suffer." Yeah. So Kingsley is sat here saying he doesn't know how he's going to navigate it. This bloke will have a full Chinese and go out at 1 a.m. and put dog jog and run with a heavy pack for 3 hours around a field. You will thrive, and it's what you always say, you play it down and then he just turns up. It's that grit and, like you say, that ability to just find that next level. A lot of it's mental. Once your legs hurt, they just hurt.
Just accepting the discomfort.
You're so good at that. You are so good at that.
If you crewed, or if you did crew me for the spine race summer of 2023, you would have saw a different Kingsley.
He was like, I slept under a hedge for 20 minutes. So I'm struggling. I've been out, I don't know how many days I've been out here, but I met this woman, she's my spine mum, and I was like, "Oh, cool, man."
Till that moment, I always wondered what my line was, and I thought that there wasn't a line that would break Kingsley, and I found that there actually, there is a line where I will say I'm going to DNF now. If you've heard of Zuki, he's a North Face runner who'd kind of messaged me and left me a message at this checkpoint. I think it was checkpoint 4, but I just got to the level of back pain that I couldn't ignore, and just had to lay down in a grass field and think, I need to sit here for 20 minutes and wait for my back to settle down. I wasn't used to carrying the weight. I'd bought a Montane Gecko, again, Kingsley style, about 2 weeks before the race. And I was really struggling with that, to the point, flipped the bag round, was carrying the running pack on my front just to kind of diversify the weight a bit. And that's the first time I thought about quitting. Messaged my parents and my friends, "Look, I think I'm going to DNF. I'm really proud. I'm 180 miles in," or whatever it was, and I'm happy with it. And it was funny because it was the first time that my sister and my brother were like, "What are you talking about? You absolute loser. You ran this far. Just finish it off now." And it was quite nice to have that. Because usually they're on the side of caution where they're "Don't hurt yourself, you run too much, Kingsley, find something else in your life." But it was nice to have them support me when I really needed it.
There is something emotional about these events because they're such an epic adventure, aren't they? You meet so many people along the way. Like I mentioned, I met Julian in the Arc of Attrition. The poor bloke had to listen to me. "Is there any more hills yet?" or I've done most of the hills. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen the topography of Arc of Attrition. It is literally like that of 60 to 80 meter hills. He must have like been like, oh, this guy. But yeah, I always, when I get to the end of these ultras, I do have that a little bit of like a swell of emotion that if I wanted to, I probably could cry. Because I just think like, wow, this is epic. I've never run for 28 hours before, irrespective. I've certainly never done that elevation. I know on the website it says 4,250 meters plus. Yeah, plus 1,000 meters, according to my Garmin, and everyone else's I looked at. It's like a bit disingenuous, like plus, give or take 1,000.
You're telling Arc's secrets.
Yeah, exactly. But you were saying that you were carrying the ring, so I'm guessing in your video, there's a lady like calling out, being like, love you, like carry on. So who was your crew for
my long-suffering girlfriend is always my crew. She's not really that interested in running, but you know what? I really love it because we both got really busy lives, jobs. We've obviously got a young daughter who's amazing, but having these moments to share are really special. And whether that be with in the future, it might have to be my friend or my coach or whoever. I think they're amazing experiences, and that did keep me going quite a bit because I really underestimated the Arc in the sense that it's that death by 1,000 cuts. They're not like UTS where you have this one massive thing to get up, or the Blue Trail Tenerife or Gran Canaria where there's a real big climb. They're all very much like that, and I hadn't appreciated what 60 to 80 meters actually feels like on a coastal path. And it's a lot of climbing, and obviously I didn't have poles. So I very quickly went, oh, this isn't how because I imagined a coastal path being almost like, I'm from Blackpool, it's almost like running along a nice little sort of semi-paved road, and it would be sort of like that. Obviously did zero research into it, but you
can't live that far from the Lake District if you're Blackpool though, surely.
Yeah, so Lakeland running it feels slightly different. I don't know why. Obviously there is a lot of similarities. It's just the real undulating nature of Arc of Attrition, which I think can catch people out because it's ruthless on your thighs and your hamstrings. But definitely knowing that I couldn't really DNF because ultimately having to then try and propose to her in that storm the next day at Land's End when it was like literally blowing a hoolie, wouldn't have been the same vibe. I've just DNF'd. I would have been probably pretty miserable. And I'd have been like, oh, will you marry me?
My friend did it as well. He had a race and he was proposing, Harvey and Alicia, and he wanted to DNF in the first 10K, and Fran was like, you can't because you've got to propose, so you need to cross the finish line. And he was in the hurt house, like from really early on, like he had a terrible race. But there is the most gorgeous picture, and Alicia similar, like she runs a little bit, but probably not as far as Harvey does. And exactly that, like crossed the line, the magic moment. It was nice.
It's really funny because the actual proposal video is on my Instagram. However, I've had to cut down that video because I am doing the strangest things you've ever seen. So I crossed the line. There's that lovely announcer lady who was like, Jordan's just finished the race in 28 hours. Would you like to say something? And I said, yeah, just off the mic. Sorry. She wants to tell me something off the mic. So I sort of whisper in her ear and say, look, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend. She's just over there. I'm going to give you my phone. I'm going to press record on a video, and I want you to act like you're taking a photo of us, but I'm actually going to propose. So I pulled my girlfriend Jade around. I was like, come and get a photo on the finishing line. She's probably thinking, why is he desperate to have me at the finishing line? And my plan was I was going to pretend to tie my shoelace, whip the ring out my top pocket, propose. Instead, I do this kind of awkward, like, lean down, like, because I can't obviously get down. I pull it out of my pocket and just go like that and spin round. I give it her. She starts crying. And then I cut the video there on the actual video. But what actually happens after that, I walk off. The lovely lady starts interviewing her. And then I come back, I pat her. Don't know why. Just pat her. Walk away again. Then come back, sort of like pat her a bit again, walk off again, then cuddle her. I don't ever put the ring on her. I don't do anything like that. I think I might have given her a peck towards the end, and that's it. It's so weird. It's just like, but it's funny nonetheless. Now, it's like a real special moment to
you
have
won't forget it.
No,
it's organic. It's unique.
I know.
I definitely remember when Kings finished as well, because like when I did crew him, like it's overwhelming. It's emotional. you don't really know what to do with yourself afterwards. Like, we hobbled back to the hotel. I felt wrecked off the back of crewing, so I can't imagine like how he felt, because that intense level of like, I'm your lifeline, and
it's
not missing. Like, we had many situations, the two of us, where there's no GPS or it drops. You don't know if he's gone past, and you can't park where the runners come past. So a lot of the time you're walking down a coastal path at 2 a.m. with a bag for life, hoping he'll be there, but he might not be. And then you're like asking everyone, have you seen Kingsley? And they're like, what's he look like? I'm like, he's running, he's got a head torch. They're like, so's everyone else. So it's really hard. And yeah, you definitely, like, I think to, you know, propose, which is such a massive moment, plus finishing the arc, plus everything else you've got going on. Like, yeah, I think tying your shoe was a bit ambitious there, to be honest.
It was. But you make a really good point about crewing, because it's a really underestimated, like, stressful job, particularly the arc, because they don't release where the aid stations are. They don't give you postcodes. So you're having to rely on what people put on Facebook, which again is like, you know, if you don't live around there, you can't test the theory.
You gave me a really good pack before we left. Kingsley gave me a survival guide, had everything written in it of options of where to go, and without that, I would not have stood a chance.
You got a few clips filming yourself where you put your camera on the side and you're like, right, and you get this pack out and you're like, I'm like, oh my God.
I don't know which address it is. I can't Google it. And like, you'd go down these single track roads for ages at night and you wouldn't know if you were getting to where. And I had to check the signal. And there was that one checkpoint where I'd gone down. It looked like he'd gone past it. I couldn't get a signal. I had to drive 3 miles back, get a signal, hope he hadn't got past in the time going back. And by some miracle, you were there.
Wow.
Because I knew that he needed, I think it was like your inhaler or something. And it's really stressful, because you know that when you've signed up to crew someone, you're the difference between them finishing and not finishing in some instances, because if they need a kit change or
the inhaler was
drunk, your inhaler's positive. And I think, like it's a lot bigger job than people sort of realise, but you get so much out of it. It's so rewarding, and it definitely brought us closer together as well.
Particularly the arc, because obviously that area of the world, albeit very beautiful, the reason why it is beautiful is because there's not loads of people flocking there, because there's nothing there. So like there's only a certain amount of parking spaces at these places. So that's a big worry. Can you get a parking space? Obviously, there's a lot more runners this year, I'm assuming, setting off at different times. Ultimately, you end up with this big long train, so people are going to different ones. It's a real point to know if you're going to do the arc, is really think about how you're going to crew it, because like last minute me again, like the night before, print screening these postcodes off a Facebook group.
It really is all you can kind of do. And like you say, like I could get to Kingsley and I could have bought the bag that we agreed 5-10k ago, but actually he might have thought of something else he needs that could be in the car, that could actually be 3 miles away, depending on where you parked. Like, there's no assurance. Whereas, like you said, referencing back to that loop, you've got that guarantee that everything you bought. After my first marathon was with Kings, and it was a looped one. And it was that guarantee that there was a toilet for you, because you were not there. But also that there was like snacks and stuff in that one guaranteed place every time you come round. So I do think you're so right. As an entrance to covering that distance, if it's a concern, then go for that. Access to your kit is fault-proof plan, really.
1,000%. The toilet thing is always something that's worried me about ultras, and because it's the first thing as a non-runner, that's what they ask, don't they? I don't know if you find this, for some reason it's the first thing is like, where did you go to the toilet over the 100 miles? And it's like, generally, so it's always interesting to get that question. Obviously with Endure it's a little bit easier because there's a halfway point and another point, but luckily I was pretty safe on the Arc of Attrition. So
it's one of those though, because like marathons as well, it's the same detail. Like a reference back to Rome, and I don't know what your experience was, but the number of toilets that they provide, and you've got all these runners that are filled with electrolytes and various other substances, trying to, you've got all that nutrition and then race day nerves. It's awful. And Athens Marathon, you run along this really like a private road at the beginning, and people are just going in people's gardens. Like, it's quite horrific actually, some of the things that go on.
Nutrition.
Who was Who's the woman that finished the Barkley Marathon? Was it Jasmine Parrott?
Jasmine.
So we saw her at the run show do a talk, and she said the best training you can do is just going hiking in the hills.
Yeah.
Like it's actually got nothing to do with running. Whereas then when it comes to marathon training, as soon as you're going under 4 hours in a marathon, the demand on your body to do that mileage at that pace is just injury city. And I've really struggled to navigate that because I'm on the cusp between like marathon to 50k running. So I can pick up those impact injuries. But I saw in your account a lot of high rocks references as well. Have you dabbled in the high rocks scene?
So during sort of my weight loss thing, I really got into the high rocks space. You know, it's one of those points in my life I just thought, you know, give it a go. And, it has its place. I think it's quite a good thing to do. It's a good test. I mean, it's gone up a lot in price since I did it.
It's ridiculous now what it is.
I really enjoyed the times I did it. However, I remember going back and doing it with a friend, and I noticed when you're not one of the faster runners, the way we were treated like slow, we were like, get out, there were people like barging you out of the way, and it's like, come on, like that's why I like stuff like ultra run. You wouldn't get that in ultra running. No one's barging you out of the way. You're all in it together. That might have just been one bad experience with one particular person.
No, you hear that a lot. It's a certain the high rocks, the rocks athlete, like a lot of gyms are now affiliated. They've got the carbon plates, the matching stocks. It's become a real clique, and we've seen it a lot more like at local gyms and just with the types of people that are doing it. And it's a shame because I think for someone like yourself who went from, and correct me if I'm wrong, like that weight loss journey and trying to blend, it almost is like that couch to 5k-esque. It's like a walker that starts to run, or it's someone that gyms a bit that adds some running, that like broken.
Exactly.
It's such a good way to get fit, and it's such a shame. They should almost have elite waves where they don't have anyone else there, and depending on what your time is, you're not in a mixture, so that people can compete at their same, have a day for the elites and a day for just anyone.
Ultra running at the moment is just exploding. Like the amount of people that are doing it, it's like a great time to be involved in the sport. There's so many cool trainers you can buy and enjoy.
You referenced Maverick races as well. So we did the Maverick race last year. When did you do your one that you placed in?
That was in October
last year. That we were at it.
It was
and
great.
We did the half marathon distance.
Wow, because I went down with Pro Direct Run Club, and we signed up for the 12k, and then all the other people that came down did the Pro Direct Run Club. So they changed to the half marathon. So they all have been running with you.
Was the Pro Direct thing that Ian was doing?
Ian was there.
You must have been with him at the end then.
When
he was getting pizza, because I was chatting
I was stood next to him.
We literally, we must have met. Like,
it's lovely to see you again. Hi Ian. Hopefully you're watching.
Yeah, exactly. I'll send it to him afterwards. I'll be like, you will not believe who I spoke to today. It's all about community. I think that is the key takeaway. Everyone we speak to says it's about the community that this kind of builds, and the whole idea of this podcast really is to speak to people that aren't in that space already but are going there, or are operating under the radar, that kind of like people need to know about, to shout about. So it's that all is space to be like, they believe in our concept, and this is us then listening to what they've done to then spread that message. I think is kind of the concept of what we were
definitely
sort of going for, and like kit and just like feels for what people have been up to. It's fascinating to speak to someone else that's done the Arc, because obviously like I've only ever had Kingsley's experiences. So the way you light up when you speak about the Arc versus road running and high rocks, it's so interesting to see the like no, people won't get but they might hear it in your voice. It's so interesting how much more joy that brings you just to talk about it.
It's like I said, it's like you can't I get asked so many times about the Arc. It's so, but you know what I mean? It's so, like, Kingsley will know what I mean. You can't really tell people what it's like to be running for 17 hours at least in the dark and not really know where you are. There's points that are just as narrow as my laptop. You look down and it's a complete sheer drop, and I'm like, oh my God. And then you'll go to these like bits where there's boulders, like big massive boulders that you're running across. And I don't know how people navigated that before they didn't have all those little flags.
It makes the world a difference. We've had it we really struggle with Ultra X. We've got a massive gripe against them personally, because their courses are horrifically marked.
Really?
The marking is absolutely like horrendous.
And it might have improved because we've stayed away from them from so long.
Finland, and it was, you had to be hot on it, to be honest. And the flags were actually just random bits of
like fabric or something.
Yeah, like fabric by the end. It wasn't even flags. And you just think for the amount you pay for their races, it's obscene. But that's why I brought up Maverick, actually. What is your personal, like, because you were saying about affordable in the space, I think Maverick is priced quite well, to be honest, for the race village that you get and the course markings and the vibe, the music.
I enjoyed the vibes. I thought it was really good. Like, I would definitely go, if it wasn't so far away from me, that Jurassic race as a whole, I would definitely do one of the ultras down there. 1,000%.
The peak's on the 7th of June in the Peak District one. It's a 50k.
We can't be making these things, because the problem is I can just sign up to them, and then I have to organise it, and I don't know.
Is there still time for UTS for you to sack off the other race and get yourself on UTS?
The problem is with ultras, it's so hard to pick the ones you want to do, right? Because I'm looking at a canal one. I don't know what it's called. Canal. It runs from Leeds down to Liverpool. It's 130 miles, and it's quite, looks quite good. But I never really know what to do. I don't really know what takes your fancy, because at a certain point, when is it you're just going to run across the whole of the UK? Without where does it stop? What are you going to do?
It's fine.
Yeah, don't keep bringing up the spine, because I can't do it. No one will let me do it. I've also thought about the Dragon's back.
So I've got one last question to kind of ask you, but I really appreciate it. We've been chatting for ages now, and you've dealt with patiently with all the technical issues we've had, and we'll probably run into another one as we're saying bye to each other. But just thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It really has.
The lasting question is going to be for the listeners, because you have got a social media presence. What are you kind of doing next? What are you excited about? And where do you want to direct the listeners? Is it to your YouTube? Is it your Instagram? How are people going to follow your journey?
Yeah, so feel free to follow me on Instagram, which is @runjay with. I do most of my posting. I do have a YouTube channel called Northernmost Mustard. It was started off as a car page, then it had some dogs on it, and now it's got me running on it.
I did wonder. I've got it in my notes to ask you where did that come from? I was like, Easily, is this the same guy? It references mustard. I'm so confused.
Don't. It was just one of those things, like, when you're younger, you make an email address that's got random things in, just so how it happened. And I have a habit of going from thing to thing. But anyway, my YouTube is just sort of unapologetically me, just sort of running, having fun. They're going to go viral videos, but they're just watched, chill, listen to someone talking, musing about things, having a bit of fun, not taking themselves too seriously. You can watch me sort of waddle around. 50k. Keswick Mountain Festival coming up. There's going to be plenty more ultras along the way, and obviously the Arc Attrition 2026 is the A race for me. Unless Spine, you want to give me a spot, maybe I could defer the other one. So
that's fine. Yeah. I'll go knocking on their door. I'll be like, look, guys, Abby Jackson effect.
But thank you so much for having me. The problem is, I'm sure we could just continue to speak for hours and hours and hours, but hopefully we can meet up on the trails at some point, and we'll meet again and race. I know we've already met, Abby, but maybe we'll meet again. So thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, and obviously thanks to Kingsley for all his advice on the lead up to Arc of Attrition.
No, thank you for the advice today as well. I'm going to be chasing you and chasing that gold buckle to Arc of Attrition, not next year, but maybe the year after. So appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys.
What a small world, though. Can you believe I've met him before?
So you've bumped into each other before, but didn't realise until the end of the interview podcast. It was very funny.
Yeah, and you've bumped into him as well.
Bumped into him as well, because he has, so his name's Jordan, but on his Instagram he's called Jay. He has a really cool social media kind of thing going on. And again, it's just someone who's a bit more underground. So if you're in the community, you've probably bumped into him or seen him on the podium at Endure 24, but it's really nice to dive into behind the scenes and look at how he's trained 120 kilograms.
Up to 120 miles.
120 miles. It's absolutely wild. And he has given us some of those secrets in terms of his mental preparation, physical preparation.
The kit he uses.
The kit.
I hope that new job of yours isn't detective work, because he's got two different names, Jay and Jordan. That's pretty hard to put together, Kings.
It's pretty hard.
Pretty tricky. How is the new job going? How was it's your first week?
So I've joined an IT job, but the first week we're moving campuses boxes and offices. So I've spent a whole week just lifting things.
That's good. Strength training.
It's strength training. I'm a bit physically and mentally drained because I'm trying to get the strength training in, but also you're meeting new people, remembering names, remembering, I don't know, functions and protocols.
I think that's the hardest part of a new job is like, where are the toilets? How do I log annual leave?
Yeah, that's so
Where
important.
do I keep my lunch? That's a big one. Like, do you have a microwave? Do you not? You can't turn up on the first day. You've got to have a cold lunch.
Where do I get my coffee?
Where's the coffee? What colour milk does the office use?
All of it. And let's dive into what you did last weekend. So you took on an absolute beast of a challenge and you achieved your goal.
So, spoiler alert, the problem is that Kingsley, whenever he's given me trainers to try, I've never really put them through their paces. So I'm using the Innovate Trailfly Zeros at the moment. So they've got no drop. And they've got a wider toe bed and I really struggle with blisters. So I was like, I'll give them a go. I'd done a Canicross 2-miler, I'd done a 4-miler, and I messaged Kings when I was packing and I was like, should I just do it?
Just wing it?
And he was like, yeah, go for it. So I took them to the Yorkshire Three Peaks, which is the 3 highest peaks in Yorkshire. A lot of people know it as a walking challenge. You've got 24 hours to complete it. I've run it a few times previously, and the best time we had was an elapsed time of 6 hours 15, and we smashed it in 5:33. So I do think that the trainers played a massive part in it, to be honest. Like, fantastic shoes. There was an ankle roll at 10k that I thought was going to be the end of the road, but nothing, a few snacks and Rob's encouragement. Freddie went out on the Canicross harness, and this one's a bit of a taboo because they were coming down the hill, and I'd be really curious to know what other people's experiences are with Canicross harnesses, because apparently as Maya went down the hill, he was on the bungee cord and he leapt forwards and took her. Both her knees completely grazed up. So anyone out there in the community, any feedback on what they do and don't on the ups and the downs on the trails, definitely be curious to know a little bit more. But otherwise, that's it really. Just thanks for coming along for the ride. I think we had a pretty cool guest this week. I definitely came into this with no expectation, didn't know anything really. So to find out that I've actually met him, we've run some similar races. A really interesting bloke, to be honest, and definitely one to watch because he was just referencing like going sub 3 hours in a marathon. His first marathon was 3.5 hours. He's one of those kind of blokes. So it's pretty cool actually, and I think it'll be really cool to see if he can get his black buckle. Wishing him all the best of luck on that.
I wish him the best, but if he does, then I'm going to have to get myself back to the Arc of Attrition to try and catch up with him because we're fairly similar. He's a couple hours ahead, but that's nothing a few checkpoint aid stations can stop me from.
He's not on the spine lineup though. So.
He's not on the spine yet, and that's what scares me. He's going to be there. He's going to be there soon.
It'll be like running from your demons. He looked quite tall.
I don't know if he is. He's taller than me, but that's not too hard to achieve. He's not like 7 foot or anything.
Every inch counts.
But every inch does count. Thank you for listening to the podcast. This has been episode 2 with Jordan. Hope you've enjoyed it. And apart from that, if you want to check out our Spotify or Apple Music, however you listen to the podcast, just give us a nice like, comment and subscribe on those platforms too to help the algorithms and support the channel. Peace.
See you next time.